Hello internet viewers, I'm the Fairly Odd Gamer. Wow. I can't believe it's been 5 years since I started this channel. Okay, a little more than 5 years, but still, wow. I know I told myself what I'd be doing for the occasion, but I just don't know. Maybe I should check the shelf. There you are. It's alright, Gamer's here. I haven't forgotten you. I promise, I'll review this game again for the occasion. Finding Nemo. Hello internet viewers, I'm the Fairly Odd Gamer, and for over 5 years I've been covering games based on movies, TV shows, anime, just about any franchise you could ever think of. Whether from Disney, Mario, Sonic, not to mention Barney and Dora, I always appreciate what games come out of these franchises depending if they're good or not. But sometimes you want to go back and reflect on things that need some fine-tuning. I'm of course talking about Finding Nemo.
Yeah, some of you knew this was coming. I told myself I'd go back and talk about this game again for the channel's 5-year anniversary. It was a self-promise that I did not want to break. Anyway, Finding Nemo was the 5th film produced by the collaborative partnership of Disney and Pixar, released on May 30th, 2003. While I first discovered the movie via teaser trailer on the Monsters Inc. DVD, I eventually did see the movie in the theater with my parents once it came out. I enjoyed the movie back then, and I still enjoy it today with its gorgeous settings, memorable characters, and a compelling story to boot. And it turns out I wasn't alone, because the movie received high praise from critics and audiences, racking almost $1 billion at the box office and a 99% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And not only did we get merchandise like plush and books, but we also got a sequel with Finding Dory in 2016, thanks to Ellen, and a few attractions in the Disney parks such as a submarine voyage, a chat with Huxgamr's favorite character being Crush.
Actually, it's more of my spirit animal.
And a live musical puppet show by now 2-time Oscar-winning husband and wife songwriters Kristen Anderson Lopez and Robert Lopez, the latter two that wrote Avenue Q, from 2007 until 2020 when COVID kicked in. But it's been revamped and reopened as Finding Nemo, The Big Blue, and Beyond last year, and is still showing today.
And what better way to show a movie success at the time than with a video game tie-in? Now, Disney and Pixar had their ups and downs with their previous tie-in games, some of which I've already talked about, so there really wasn't a big surprise. But another reason why I wanted to go back to this game was because I felt that the original view was incomplete. And also I didn't like the way it was presented.
Not just because the lighting looked bad. Okay, yeah, it looked more like a video you watched 10 years prior, but I felt like I was berating and bashing the game like an AVG Nostalgia Critic Views knockoff. Since then, I pushed that aside and become more calm and collected when doing my reviews. I've always wanted to go back and talk about this game at some point. However, after watching Caddy's review of Finding Nemo for the GameCube, well, the PAL version, it made me come to realize something. Maybe I was too harsh in this game initially, and I hope that 5 years would be enough to hopefully change my mindset.
So for the re-review, I'll be giving the console version the full review that it deserves. With that said, does Finding Nemo for the GameCube hold up to the success of the movie? Let's dive underwater and find out. Oh, and I will give the PS2 version a quick look at as well for comparison purposes.
After reassuring it's a property of Disney and Pixar, we see that the game was published by THQ and developed by Traveler's Tales, a company that tends to pop up on my channel every so often. Over the years, I've covered a wide variety of games from their library, whether it's a classic like Mickey Mania and Toy Story 1 and 2, to mediocre games like Sonic 3D Blast and Sonic R, and even games that are not so good like Bram Stoker's Dracula and even Buzz Lightyear's Star Command. Yeah, that one. Anyway, I still like the game's atmosphere as shown in the title screen. The underwater aesthetic looks good and the music feels relaxing. And yeah, the play trailer option lets you watch the movie's theatrical trailer. By the way, I should have pointed out that the game was released on May the 12th, 2003, 6 days before the LA premiere, but only 18 days before the movie's theatrical release. So those who bought the game before watching the movie would more than likely be spoiled. Let's start with the first level of the game, going to school. By the way, I love how the school of fish recreates a silhouette based on what you expect to see in the level. It's a nice touch in my opinion. We get an F&B cutscene from the movie in which Nemo wakes up Marlin. Why? Because Nemo's excited about his first day of school. While the F&B movie clips aren't really useful nowadays due to video or stream releases, it's actually pretty cool getting to see clips from the movie.
Nemo, that's my boy. So, how's the lucky fin?
Lucky! Watch me swim over to that coral.
Okay, I'll meet you there. Why don't you try to swim through all those rings of bubbles on the way?
And that's exactly what he does as you move around Nemo with a control stick.
Good job. Now we're ready to go to school. Follow me, and remember you can speed up by pressing the move button.
I will, Dad.
And keep trying to swim through all the rings.
Yeah, let's go!
It's here where you find out the game can oftentimes transition from 2.5D to full 3D. There's even an option in which you can have inverse vertical controls in the 3D sections, that is if you feel more comfortable with it. But during these 3D sections, you'll more than likely be holding the move button every single time. Anyway, you run into Tad and Sheldon who are also going to school. However, they can't find their friend Pearl, who may have wandered off into the sea caves. But luckily Nemo is here to save the day. Would a giant clam blocking the path to school stop these clownfish? Not if Nemo has to say anything about it. So Nemo goes in the caves where he finds Pearl, spewing out ink prematurely. But Pearl does follow Nemo out of the caves back to Tad and Sheldon as she... I guess you could say Pearl carried a pearl.
You can have it, Nemo. Thanks for saving me. See if you can carry it with your fin. All you gotta do is hold the action button.
I gotta give this game credit for actually showing the controller button from the subtitles in the GameCube version. For some reason, the PS2 version doesn't do that. I don't know why, but there you go. Speaking of which, let's talk about the PS2 version. Yeah, I know the loading times are infamously long, for 12 seconds, but I don't think it ruins the overall experience for me. Aesthetically, both versions look great, but I think the PS2 version looks like the GameCube version had it been given a saturation boost. Also, you'll notice in later levels that the game tends to slow down and stutter a bit in the GameCube version. Surprisingly, the PS2 version actually performs very well. Finally, in the in-game cutscenes, lull music continues playing in the PS2 version, whereas the GameCube version stops the music whenever an in-game cutscene starts playing. I don't think it really matters in my personal opinion. In all honesty, I got the PS2 version of Finding Nemo expecting to hate it.
But I have to admit that after playing the PS2 version hands-on, I don't think it's that bad in my opinion.
So Nemo picks up the pearl and drops it into the clam. So that means they can go to school, right? Nope, they're stopped by a rock pile which almost fell on Nemo's friends, and now they have to move the rocks out of the way. How will they do it?
Here, let me do it, Nemo.
Nice dirt face, Marlin.
Oh, gee, I can't move them.
He says after doing nothing at all. And it's here where Nemo can dart through obstacles like rocks with the action button. Nemo then partakes in a race against his friends on the way to school, and winning the race results in this. That face will forever live in the world of infomemes. But yeah, each level has a certain amount of tasks that can be completed, which results in a starfish bonus. Besides the race bonus, like the one we just saw, there's also a pebble bonus in which you carry 3 colored pebbles, red, green, and blue, to each of its corresponding platforms. And you'll also earn gold starfish if you manage to, well...
swim through all the rings!
Yeah, that. But another new obstacle faces Nemo, this time in the form of baby clams. Yep, this game has enemies that must be defeated. How, you may ask? By pushing a bubble trapping said enemy and darting into them, like those rocks from before. After defeating the clams, both Nemo and Marlin finally arrive at school. Each level ends by checking off each starfish bonus you obtained in the level, as well as a timer showing how far it took you to reach the level's end. Plus it gives you the opportunity to save your progress. Let's hope the next level's a fun field trip. Everyone's excited about seeing Mr. Ray, but Marlin doesn't let Nemo go that easily. Not only does the level introduce shells that give you bonus points, but Marlin also introduces Nemo ways to make him feel more protected, with a blue enemy giving Nemo temporary invincibility.
I am invincible!
And Krillin serve as your health meter. In other words,
they'll protect you in case you run into anything dangerous.
Thank you, Marlin. Oddly enough, whenever Nemo pops out of the enemy, it looks like Nemo's chasing after his tail.
Which I hardly ever do.
Though it would have been awesome to have Nemo defeat enemies without using any bubbles, but that's just me. Eventually, Nemo catches up with his friends as they finally see Mr. Ray, followed by a callback from the movie. with a different take, of course.
All new explorers must answer a science question.
Okay.
You live in what kind of home?
In an anemone.
Okay, don't hurt yourself.
Anemone.
As we follow Mr. Ray while encountering shell rings, clams, and whatever that is, we find a bed of sponges that Nemo can bounce on while collecting more shells and more rings. Also, this is the introduction of the bounce bonus, in which bouncing on every object at least once earns you a golden starfish, which means memes galore! I'm actually glad this game doesn't let you jump off the sponge beds, because otherwise... yeah, that. It's also here where we first encounter caves that act as portals. Just press the action button when you see a question mark, and you can swim through a cave to get to another area of the stage. Unfortunately, the fun in games made them lose sight of Mr. Ray, which means they have to catch up to him. Unlike the previous times where they followed Mr. Ray, you now have a mirror that shows how close or far you are from a certain fish. Mr. Ray also leaves behind green rings that help you speed up in order to get closer to them. But if you miss a speed ring, you'll slow down and possibly get an exclamation mark telling you that you have to swim faster. I'm actually starting to see why I thought of this game when I was playing Superman 64. But unlike that game, you have to
Swim through all the rings!
Okay, we get it. Eventually they make it to the drop-off, which happens to be the next level of the game. So Nemo and friends ditch class, probably due to boredom, as I find it more interesting to say the least. Not only are we introduced to new obstacles like steam geysers and pufferfish, but we're also introduced to a new enemy in the form of a crab. While they pop out of its shell and snap its claws, they can still be defeated the same way as the clams. Oh, and I forgot that the last level was also an introduction of the hero bonus, in which you have to defeat every enemy in the game. Just thought I'd point that out. Eventually they come across the boat, or however Sandy Plankton called it.
He said it was called a butt.
Yeah, what he said. But Nemo shuns whatever Marlin says as he swims his way to the boat while avoiding eels and sea currents that'll try to push Nemo off course. Eventually he makes it to the boat, touches it, and meets an angry diver. As a result, Nemo quickly swims his way back by, I guess, performing the underwater version of the Joestar family secret technique. Luckily, you can protect yourself by swimming through the bubble ring. But alas, it's to no avail because he ultimately gets kidnapped by said divers. On to the next level, Mask Chase. Marlin tries to go after the boat only to get pushed back via motor jet stream. But all hope is not lost when Marlin catches sight of the mask falling deep in the ocean. Which happens to be the same mask that the diver accidentally pushes off the boat as seen in the movie. Although if you look closely at the PS2 version, it looks like it was tossed into the sea rather than having it pushed off. By the way, this is the first level in which you don't play as Nemo. Instead you play as Marlin, but the controls are about the same as before. But this time you have to traverse 3 areas of defeating enemies and avoiding obstacles, including new ones like sea urchins and snapping eels, all while under a time limit in each area. But if you run out of time, you get a cutscene of Marlin missing the mask at Reach, and you're sent back to the beginning of the stage or last reach area. Unable to retrieve the mask, he then swims through a school of fish hoping they know where it is, which I assume they don't. Oh, and avoid the fish swimming behind you, otherwise bye bye Krill. Eventually he meets Dory by smacking into each other. This leads to the next level, Catch Dory. It's here where Marlin and Dory first meet, as Dory helps Marlin reach the boat that has Nemo captive.
Where? Which way?
It went, this way. It went this way. Follow me.
Thank you so much.
It's similar to Nemo catching up to Mr. Ray, only now you have to catch up to Dory, once again by swimming through speed rings, 3 times. Every time you catch up to Dory, she'll forget what she's doing in the first place via callbacks from the movie. Though in my personal opinion, I think they're presented much better in the movie than in the game, and not just because of how the lines are delivered in the game. Watch both versions and see for yourself.
I'm trying to swim here. What, the ocean isn't big enough for you or something like that?
Trying to swim here. What, the ocean isn't big enough for you or something like that?
You got a problem, buddy? Huh? Do ya?
You got a problem, buddy? Huh? Do you?
What are you talking about? You're showing me which way the boat went.
What are you talking about? You're showing me which way the boat went.
A boat? Hey, I've seen a boat. It went, this way. It went this way. Follow me.
A boat? Hey, I've seen a boat. It went, this way. It went this way. Follow me.
See what I mean? After Dory tells Marlin that she has short-term memory loss, it's here where they first encounter a ferocious shark named Bruce. But before moving on, let's talk about the game's voice acting. First off, I'm glad that it got some of the movie's actors to reprise their roles for the game, including Bob Pearson as Mr. Ray, George Rance as Tad, Sheldon voiced by Dewey from Malcolm in the Middle, Erica Beck as Pearl, and Alexander Gould back as Nemo, even if he does sound a bit different from the movie. While we still hear Albert Brooks and Ellen DeGeneres voice Marlin and Dory from the FMV movie cutscenes, Marlin and Dory are voiced in the in-game cutscenes by Jess Harnell and Jennifer Hale. While neither of them compared to the movie, I still appreciate the effort they both put in their performances. But at least we get to hear Barry Humphries as Bruce, right?
Hello?
In case you're wondering, that's Jess Harnell voicing Bruce. It's not a bad choice, but it sounds a bit off-putting hearing that in the movie cutscenes.
How or why did Bruce get the redub treatment completely eludes me.
Anyway, the minefield level starts off with Marlin and Dory first meeting Bruce as he takes them to a party, as they call it. It's also the first level where you take control as Dory, but at least your control is the same as both Marlin and Nemo, so at least there's some consistency. Basically, Bruce leaves behind a trail of speed rings to help Dory catch up to Bruce while avoiding tentacles and inksworks that cause Dory to suffocate. When in reality it just sounds like and you do the same thing while traversing the minefield, which only has two obstacles, the strong currents returning from the drop-off and the mine balloons themselves. One little touch causes it to explode and send you back to the start of that area. Oh, and remember those exclamation marks I mentioned before? These exclamation marks come in green, yellow, and red. Miss one more ring while in red and you lose sight of your target, therefore sending you back to the beginning of that area. And this one in particular is by far the creepiest. Let that face alone be your nightmare for the night. Oh, and speaking of the mines, Dory can now bounce on them like Nemo did with the sponge beds. Not only is this more dangerous, but you also have to be very quick on which balloon to bounce on next. Besides the starting balloon, bouncing on any mine balloon more than 3 times causes it to explode, and you have to start the bounce section all over again. After catching up to Bruce 2 more times, whether in the minefield or not, they make their way to the Submarine, also known as the game's next level.
But do you want to know the real reason why having Bruce redub bugs me even today?
Ica, chum!
There you are, Bruce, finally.
We've already gone through the snacks and I'm still starved!
That's why. Anchor and Chum, voiced by Eric Bana and Bruce Spence, still remain in the game. And for some bizarre reason, Bruce is the only character that gets fully redubbed. Does that mean Barry Humphries is not allowed to voice Bruce in anything other than the movies? Well, no. In fact, Humphries has voiced Bruce in 2 Disney rides and even Disneyland Adventures for the Kinect. So if that's the case, why couldn't this? I would have preferred giving Bruce the same treatment as Marlin and Dory, in which you keep Humphries for the FMV cutscenes and still have Harnell's voice used in the in-game cutscenes. That at least would have made more sense.
Well, after 20 years, I may have figured out a possible solution.
There's a division at Disney called Disney Character Voices, in which their job is to protect the integrity of all the original character voices. So that means if a character's voice actor was not available for a ride or a game in this case, then Disney would have to hire a voice actor that can sound like the original voice. So that could explain why both Harnell and Hale voiced Marlin and Dory in the in-game cutscenes, while also keeping the original voices in the film clips. But in the case of Bruce, new lines were recorded for the in-game clips. But as mentioned before, all of Bruce's dialogue from the movie were completely redubbed, presumably due to contract negotiations. That's just my guess, but maybe I'll ask Jess about it if I ever meet him at a con. Anyway, they enter the submarine as they take on the pledge. Okay, maybe not. Yeah, we don't get to see the entire scene in full, but I guess the game tries to focus more on the overall objective, which I'm okay with. So Marlin finds the mask, which makes him think about Nemo, as both he and Dory try to rewitch on the mask. Unfortunately, it snaps on Dory's nose, making it bleed, which results in Bruce wanting to eat them alive. And now it's Marlin and Dory that has to master the underwater Joestar family secret technique. I forgot to mention that during the start of each chase sequence, the character you control lets out a short scream. Except for Dory, who's happy to be chased by a shark. But that's if you're playing on the GameCube. In the PS2 version, Dory's like, whatever. As for the Xbox version, it's about as bright as the PS2 version, but graphically looks similar to the GameCube version, which means this version also has Dory smiling in the face of terror. So on a technical standpoint, that would make the PS2 version the most inferior version. Just look at Dory's blank stare. Basically, all you do is avoid Bruce's chomps by swimming down just as he's about to launch himself trying to consume you. And by the way, you only do that 3 times. Luckily, they do escape Bruce, but they have to escape the room by darting into a giant green button that opens the door. At the same time, you have to avoid more spiny sea urchins, electric eels, and pipes that often spew rainbow smoke. Taste the rainbow, mamacita! It's not until the next room where exploration and good puzzle solving skills come to play. Oh, and make sure you avoid that mind balloon at all costs. And the look on your face clearly shows. At least we get another callback from the movie.
Sorry, you'll have to come back later. We're trying to escape.
By the way, I actually like how the 3D text subtitles flow like water. Also, when it comes to a long subtitle line, both the GameCube and Xbox versions compress the long text to make it fit your TV. And sometimes they'll get to a point where you can't even read it. However, in the PS2 version, the long line subtitles actually scroll from left to right. Just thought I'd point that out. The final area makes you complete a slide puzzle in which you have to connect the pipes so that the green button will open up the final door in order to, well... yeah, that. While it is the first level in the story campaign to have a slide puzzle, the actual first time you see it is in the bonus level for the drop-off, but I'll get to those later. While in Dory escape the submarine as we head on to the next level, Hide and Seek. Surprisingly, this level doesn't show a clip from the movie before the level starts. Though if you were to add one, then I guess you can add the clip in which Nemo goes into the fish tank. Anyway, all you do is find all 6 members of the tank gang. A fish called Bubbles appears after Bubbles pop out of a treasure chest.
My Bubbles! My Bubbles!
Deb, or Flo, appears after completing another slide puzzle, this time her own reflection.
Oh, who's this? Do you know him, Flo?
Peach can be found easily by swimming up to the glass.
Ooh, everybody, root canal, and by the looks of those x-rays, it's not gonna be pretty.
I love that callback from the movie, by the way. Gurgle can be found in the volcano.
If you see any of the others, don't tell them I'm in here.
Jacques pops out after knocking out coconuts from a tree.
No. We must have no mess.
And then there's Bloat, hiding behind the blue anemone.
Hey there, little fella. Seen any of my friends around?
I think we just did already. So Nemo gets acquainted with the tank gang, and suddenly Gil shows up. I can assume that Nemo met Gil while being stuck in the pipe. Moving on to the next level, Mask Search. Seeing that they dropped the diamond mask, which is now sinking toward the deep wells in the ocean, they now have to get it back. This level actually mixes dark and menacing quite beautifully. But make sure you don't swim too high up, otherwise you'll get ambushed by an ongoing anglerfish. Because of her short-term memory loss, I think, you have to follow Marlin with a time limit. Failure to do so actually triggers a really cool Easter egg.
Nope, nothing in my noggin. Yep, can't remember diddly.
I know.
Can't remember squat.
That's right.
Diddly squat.
The audio you just heard was taken straight from the movie's teaser trailer.
Marlin then takes you to a series of pipes, and it's here where you learn a new game mechanic. By pressing the action button for another playable character, you can simply tag them in order to have them do something they can't do. The concept works so well that I actually managed to turn in the modern LEGO games, also by Traveler's Tales. This level is pretty much 3 stages of puzzle solving, whether it's darting on switches, balls, torpedoes, or even door hatches. And let's not forget to add that slide puzzle that opens up a pipe portal. Yeah, Marlin can go through portals similarly to Nemo, except you can do so earlier and catch Dory. But here's the catch. You can only move on only if you play as Dory. If you try to continue as Marlin, then Dory will remind you to not forget her. By the way, this is the first level in which Dory can defeat enemies, like the clams. Eventually they find the mask, which results in an anglerfish chase. I'm actually glad we get to see the anglerfish scene from the movie. However, I noticed that the voice audio sounds a bit louder than the music. Basically, all you do is survive 3 gauntlets of Marlin being chased by the anglerfish as a distraction while Dory needs enough light to read what the mask says. Also, is it just me, or does Marlin and the anglerfish look like he's in jail? Either way, it's still pretty terrifying. Eventually, Dory manages to decipher what the mask says.
P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney!
Marlin and Dory use the mask to trap the anglerfish, and Dory remembers what the mask says.
P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney. I remembered what it said. I usually forget things, but I remembered it that time. P. Sherman 42...
Wait. Now, where is that?
I don't know. But who cares? Ha! I remembered! P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney. I remembered it again!
Up next, we have Mount Wannahockaloogie. After a few pebbles, Jacques wakes Nemo.
Suivez-moi. Follow me.
And that's what you do while avoiding tiki blowing fire-like bubbles that instantly kill you if you touch them. The initiation begins, but with a lack of... They try turning on the ring of fire, but there's one small problem.
There are no bubbles!
Bubbles! Where?
So Nemo has to complete the task of the volcanic mountain and return when he's done.
Tasks?
Leaks need to be blocked.
And that's exactly what you do before bowing down to each of the tiki heads in the correct order to unlock the red bubble gate, allowing you to move on. Fun fact, did you know the tiki heads were actually caricatures of 3 Pixar employees who worked on the film? Anyway, the next task has you repeatedly dart into a lever, causing the yellow diver to block the gate with its hand. The final task involves solving another slide puzzle via pipes, and at least it's easier to solve. Thank goodness for that. At long last, the mountain is ready, as Nemo has to
swim through all the rings!
Except they're all red instead of clear, but try not to miss more than 3 rings. Though wouldn't it be better if this section had this in the background?
Isn't there another way? He's just a boy!
From this moment on, you will now be known as Sharkbait.
Sharkbait! Ooh-ha-ha! Welcome, brother Sharkbait! Sharkbait! Ooh-ha-ha!
Enough with the Sharkbait.
Sharkbait! Ooh, badoo.
On to the next level, Jellyfish Race. It's here where Marlin and Dory encounter the jellyfish field as they decide to have a little fun by having a race to see who can hop their way out of the jellyfish field first. The only way to do that is to quickly swim your way to a nearby jellyfish head and quickly tap the action button to hop your way from one head to another. And being fast is key, because there will be times in which you get ejected from a jellyfish head. If that happens, then you have to quickly swim to another nearby jellyfish head. And by the way, this is the first level in which winning the race is required to progress through the level. Otherwise you'll get trapped and you have to start all over again. And winning the race makes the level short, right? Nope, you have another bounce bonus opportunity, this time with jellyfish heads. It kinda goes hand in hand with the theme of the level in my opinion. But this time you have a new obstacle in the form of squishies. You know, the one that stuck Dory one time in the movie? But Marlin lives in an enemy and says that he's used to these things, so clearly he'll be immune to these squishies, right? Well, so much for following the logic of the movie. Also, at random points in the race, you can actually hear Marlin and Dory call back moments from the movie, which is actually a nice touch.
Yeah, careful I don't make you cry when I win.
Yeah, careful I don't make you cry when I win.
Give it up, old man. You can't fight evolution. I was built for speed.
Give it up, old man. You can't fight evolution. I was built for speed.
Question is, Dory, are you hungry?
Hungry?
Yep, because you're about to eat my bubbles!
The question is, Dory, are you hungry?
Huh? Hungry?
Yeah, because you're about to eat my bubbles!
So Marlin wins the race, but he finds Dory tangled up and stung within the jellyfish forest. They escape the forest alive, but tired as they supposedly land on what's to come later. And here it is, training with Gil.
I stated before that this is the worst level in the entire game, but that was 5 years ago, so maybe my opinion has changed since then?
It starts with Nemo just talking to Gil. I guess they're trying to form a bond with one another as Gil reflects on his previous escape attempts.
My first escape landed on dental tools. I was aiming for the toilet.
Toilet?
All drains lead to the ocean, kid.
Wow. How many times have you tried to get out?
I've lost count.
That actually is a good bonding moment, and I'm hoping this level does the same thing. Seeing that they both have one disabled fin, Gil decides to give Nemo some one-fin swimming tips. Well, it's basically trying to keep up with Gil via speed rings in a top-down view, while Gil encourages you to swim faster, turn quicker, or if you're doing it right. A bit unnecessary in my opinion. After that, you have to sort out these shells by bouncing on all of them. Easy, right? You actually have to bounce on every shell without having any slugs pop out of their shells, which means you have to be both quick and precise. It almost took me about 2 minutes to get it done. That's how hard it is. Eventually you have to swim through more rings? Now I really am getting Superman 64 vibes. It's also here where you first find the Luxo ball in the game's story. Again, I'll get to the bonus levels later. By bouncing the ball with your head, you have to guide the ball through these purple bubble rings while avoiding orange spikes and even bloat. Actually, before I move on, I'm glad that the voice actors for the Tank Gang in the movie reprised their roles for the game, which includes the in-game cutscenes. Not only do we have Gil voiced by the Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe, but we also have Stephen Root as Bubbles, Vicki Lewis as Deb or Flo, Allison Janney as Peach, Austin Pendleton as Gurgle, the late Joe Rant as Jacques, and Brad Garrett as Bloat. Just want to point that out. So after guiding the Luxo Ball, oh come on! More rings? Is Nemo learning how to swim, or is he helping Gil and the gang with their chores? Seriously, I'm getting tired of this right now.
How long is this going to take?
Oh, well, thank you.
So to sum it all up, the level follows the condensed version of the ring level formula in Superman 64.
Swim through rings, complete a task. Swim through rings, complete a task. Swim through rings, level ends via loading screen.
Even after playing this game for my original review 5 years ago, my opinion on this level being the worst in the game still stands. You know, I'm just gonna move on before it gets even worse.
Up next we have the East Australian Current. As Marlin becomes more conscious, he meets a sea turtle named Crush. It's also here where he finds Dory lying on another sea turtle. Marlin apologizes to Dory thinking she's... yeah. But then, hooray! She's still alive! It starts off with Marlin trying to catch Dory somewhere in the EAC while under a time limit 3 times. I actually like how every time Marlin fails to find Dory, he spins around and then bumps into the camera. Imagine that being used for a face grab. Anyway, as Dory, you have to bounce on turtles while at the same time finding all 5 baby turtles. Though it's best not to go too fast with turtle bounce because they won't be able to catch up with you. If that happens, then you have to find the hiding baby turtles again. But hey, it's not as bad as the clamshells from the previous level. The baby dudes pile up on Marlin as Crush tells them that their exit to Sydney is just around the corner. And for some bizarre reason, Marlin has to race Dory and the baby turtles to the EAC exit. By the way, this is the first level in the game's story to feature red rings, which act like the speed rings except they don't disappear. And just like the Jellyfish race, finishing first is the only way to progress through the level. Also, I find it a bit odd seeing that both Marlin and Dory exit the EAC at the same time in the movie, while the game presents it as a racing section. I don't understand why, but there you go.
Now, turn your fishy tails round and swim straight on through to Sydney. No worries, man.
No worries, thank you, Dude Crush.
You tell your little dude I said hi, okay?
I kinda wish Hux was here right now.
Hey gamer, how's it going?
It's going alright, Hux.
What's the matter, gamer?
I don't know. It's just that I just thought you'd like to see your good friend Crush.
Dude, that was years ago. I now consider Crush as my spirit animal, even though I actually am an animal. But still, I've changed a lot since then.
Oh, I see.
But I understand where you're coming from, though.
Thanks, Hux.
No problem. Anyway, I should probably get going. Later, dude!
Moving on to the next level, the plan. Wait, now we get to the escape plan plot of the movie? I'm actually surprised it didn't happen, well, earlier. All Nemo has to do is stop the filter by dropping 5 red pebbles, no more than 1 at a time, into a funnel. Unlike the movie, in which it takes 1 giant blue pebble to stop the filter. Unfortunately, the game does not include either the Tank Gang Filthy or any of the Tank Gang escaping the dentist office via individual baggies. This is also the only level in which you get a starfish bonus via Luxo Ball, unlike GreenWoodLT, in which it was required for a level progression.
Sharkbait, you did it! Yes, Sharkbait, you're covered with germs! That took guts, kid.
Up next, we have the whale chase. And look, the level starts out with Dory and Marlin getting the donut treatment of getting eaten by a whale. Well, that didn't last long. Okay, hold it right there. Why are Marlin and Dory getting chased by the whale? Didn't we just see them getting eaten not too long ago? I guess the game uses this movie clip to give us an idea on what point we're at in the movie. That makes sense, I guess. They do get eaten by the whale, which is where the remainder of the level takes place. If the level was renamed to Whale Escape, then that would have been more fitting. Anyway, then had Dory bounce on the whale tongue bumps while trying to avoid the squishy from the jellyfish race. But anytime she touches one of the squishies, she'll faint like in the movie, as in exactly how it's seen in the movie. After that, you swim through the whale's esophagus while avoiding rainbow-spewing smoke returning from the submarine. Touching it triggers the same death animation from Minefield, minus subtitles. She then enters the whale's stomach while trying to defeat crabs, swim through strong currents, and avoid obstacles such as smoke and these pink blubbers from up top.
That guy got hit in the head with a coconut!
I know I made this joke in my old review, but even then, it still gets me a chuckle.
Finally, as Marlin, you have to race Dory out of the whale from its spout, which this time counts for a starfish bonus. And then we watch them get out of the EAC again? Wouldn't it make more sense to just show them getting blown out of the whale and have them be in Sydney? Anyway, on to the next level, Treatment Plant. We see Nemo taken out of the fish tank via Baggy. Why? Because in the movie, the dentist wanted Nemo as a birthday present for her soon-to-be 8-year-old daughter, Darla. Fun fact, Darla herself was named after longtime Pixar employee and Monsters Inc. producer, Darla K. Anderson. This is why it's best to see the movie before playing any game the movie is based on. With help from Gil, he bounces Nemo into the rinse drain because, as mentioned before,
all drains lead to the ocean, kid.
Well, had the game gotten rid of training with Gil, then we wouldn't have had that scene from the movie. Not saying the level's any good, though. But anyway, Nemo finds himself in the sewage plant, and he has to make his way out of the plant and into the ocean. Oh, and remember those currents you had to go through in the previous levels? I'm sorry, but this level really ramped up the speed of the currents. Not to shame anyone, but it might be because of Nemo's small physique that makes them feel more difficult. There's an area in which you have to dart through the heavy currents toward the gratings. Twice. I swear, there are times in which I feel like I made it through, only to find out that I didn't. You have to make sure that you dart in the correct spot in order to make it through the grating. Otherwise, you have to loop back to the beginning of the area no matter how far you are. Even for a kid's game, you'll still have a hard time unless you're the ultimate master of this game. This level also includes spinning fan blades with pointy spikes, gears that can be turned by darting into a green button, red smoke, and these pop-up eels from some levels ago. After swimming through the hole of the fan, you literally have to dive out of the water and over the fence. Oh yeah, did I mention you could dive out of the water? Because you could dive out of the water. In addition, you have to dart into the correct pipe and carefully navigate through these elevators while avoiding spikes on top and bottom. Also, here's something I forgot to mention very early on in the game. While holding an item in heavy currents, you're not allowed to dart at all. Though wouldn't it be awesome if he was able to do that? One more Rail 3 section later, and Nemo escapes to the ocean via the pipe.
Hey, have you seen my dad?
Gotcha!
No!
Hey, come back here! You let him go! Hey.
This leads to the final level of the game, Fishing Net Rescue. Nemo finally gets reunited with his dad, but uh-oh, a large net comes in, capturing a large handful of fish, including Dory. Anybody here got ideas?
I know what to do! We have to tell all the fish to swim down!
Which I'm sure he learned from Gil in the fish tank with another net he was trapped in, only smaller. Unlike in the movie where he was able to swim through the net, the game has Nemo out of the net, which I'm sure will make Marlin very proud. Throughout the level, Nemo has to swim to Dory as you tell a group of fish in the net to swim down via action button. Not only is the entire level under a time limit, but you also have to avoid falling gears that will instantly kill you if you touch them. For a final level, it is challenging, if you're a kid. Shockingly, I didn't find the level as difficult as I thought it was. So after telling 10 schools of fish to swim down, Marlin commands all the fish to keep swimming down to the bottom. And of course, the net breaks loose from the rope as it snaps off the boat and therefore freeing all the fish into the ocean. At last we get another movie cutscene in which they go to school.
So just then, the sea cucumber looks over the mollusk and says, with fronds like these, who needs anemones?
Which we never saw until now. Oops.
Squirt joins Nemo's school, and then...
Oh, we just wanted to make sure that our newest member got home safely.
Thanks, guys.
Did Jess Harnell forget to redub Bruce's lines there? This is another reason why Bruce should not have been fully redubbed, because missing stuff like this can happen. They all live happily ever after, as everyone swims around the main menu during the end credits.
And that concludes the story mode for this game. Now, on to the other modes!
If you manage to complete at least one Starfish bonus in a level, you'll then unlock a bonus level for another Starfish bonus, some of which we've already seen before in the game's story, like the Luxo Ball, bouncing on the sponge beds and shells, the slide puzzle, and or race against your friends. However, there are also some levels only exclusive for the bonus stars. There's a pairs minigame, or the memory game, in which you match every matching pair of picture cards. Simon Says, in which you have to match the symbols of each character in the right order provided by the Greyfish. And finally, we have the teamwork minigame. By tagging Marlin, Dory, or Nemo, depending on who you're playing as, you have to perform the pebble bonus by clearing obstacles and solving puzzles along the way. If you manage to complete every Starfish bonus in each level, including the bonus level, you're then rewarded with extra material from the game. Watching a montage of production photos based on each level, whether it's the level design or the looks of each character. It's actually a pretty cool reward in my opinion. And at last we have the granddaddy of all rewards. I'm actually one of the few people to have fully completed this game. I know it's not saying much, but I sort of find it as an accomplishment. But in order to do that, then you have to painstakingly complete every starfish bonus and every bonus level in every level of the game. If you do, then that giant starfish at the very end will turn gold. Now comes the big surprise. By selecting the giant starfish, you get the ultimate reward for a completionist. A full area in which you get to watch the F&B movie cutscenes from the game. Does this mean we get to hear Barry Humphries as Bruce this time?
Hello?
And why do we have to watch the movie clips again? I think it would have been better if we got a little documentary on how the game was made, and maybe how most of the voice actors got to reprise their roles. Heck, I'd like to know how and why Jess Harnell got to redub Bruce's lines over Barry Humphries. That would have been a better reward. But based on what I got, the overall reward for the game's completion is nothing but bragging rights.
So has my overall opinion on this game changed after 5 years? Well, in a way, it kind of did.
The game's not awful, but it's not very good either. I just find this game mediocre at best. Visually, it looks amazing. The level design looks almost identical to what you see in the movie, the character models look great as well, and I love the overall atmosphere, especially with levels like the Jellyfish race and the East Australian Current. But as mentioned before, the game may or may not perform well depending on what version you're playing. As for the overall gameplay, it's not that bad for a kid's game. Even though you play as 3 different characters, they're all pretty much the same in regards to control, which isn't a bad thing in my opinion. Though if I were to change one thing, then I'd like to have a feature in which you could dart through obstacles while holding an object. But that's just me. I still don't think Train with Gil is really needed in my opinion, but I guess the developers were trying to build the relationship between Nemo and Gil. It's not a bad idea, but just not executed very well. There are a few times in which the game made me think of Superman 64, but at least this game doesn't have needless repetition. And before I forget, I love the game's music by Andy Blythe and Martin Jelstra, who previously worked on the video game tie-ins for Toy Story 1 and 2 and even A Bug's Life. In a way, I think the music does a great job of enhancing the overall atmosphere of the game. Overall, Finding Nemo is an okay game. It's not as bad as I thought it was, but I can safely say that this game really does not deserve the bashing or berating unlike last time.
You know, I'm glad I decided to go back to this game 5 years later. I just think it shows how much I've improved since the first time I reviewed this. Since then, I joined a group of online reviewers called Team Night Saturn. I reviewed over 100 games from numerous consoles. I got to work with wonderful people from guest reviewers, musicians, animators, or even one of the many tile code artists throughout the years. And most importantly, I want to thank everyone who's been watching my content for the past 5 years. And seriously, without you guys, this show would not have lasted this long. So here's the next 5 years of new content, as well as more game reviews. Until then, I'm the Fairly Odd Gamer, and I wish you all good luck for the rest of your day or night, wherever you are. Take care, everyone.
Hey dudes, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon.
And make sure you follow us on social media. Video commission is available. And now, I wish a character buddy would end off the video right now.
Oh, hello everyone. I'm Scrooge McDuck, the richest duck in the world. Let me start off by congratulating the Fairly Odd Gamer for being on YouTube for 5 years. An extraordinary feat, I may add. So why not support them on Patreon? Doing this will allow access to the channel server, your name in the credits like this wonderful gentleman here, and even access new content before anyone else. You'll even be generous as, say, Luke Jeffers. I once again thank you for watching this video as well as supporting the channel. Now if you'll excuse me, I got to go back into my money bin. Gotta keep up me swimming legs, you know?